first of all, I'd just like to say something about the crowd. I don't know what the actual numbers were, but man, what an incredible atmosphere for college baseball. And everybody who's a part of this, they got to know from a recruiting standpoint for our players and everybody else, when you make this kind of atmosphere, it's not difficult to get excited about playing baseball at Mississippi State. So thank you to all the fans who braved through the bad weather last night and came out and supported these kids today. Obviously, really pleased with Austin Sexton. He deserved better. We had the 8th inning there where we miscommunicated on 2 different balls, really shouldn't have. We have a little bit of an overzealous freshman right fielder who's playing his heart out, doing everything he can to make plays, and in the process, we didn't have the right communication there, and he's going to get better from that. And by the way, he hits a bullet out of the ballpark tonight, and it's a ball down the line that allows Robson to score, and he's trying to stretch that into a triple. He is going to be a tremendous player, but we had a little bit of a communication gap there on 2 balls involving right fielder and the 8th that cost us a little bit. But I'm just so proud of Austin, because Austin, even though he's a little upset and he's angry that they're scoring runs in that situation, anybody would be, he's still challenging the strike zone, knowing that we're going to get outs, knowing he can depend on his defense, knowing that changeup and his breaking ball were just so good today that he can get outs by himself. And that strikeout he had to end the 8th inning, I thought was huge.
Mangum's really providing support for you guys.
Yeah, Mangum's been great. It's a line drive out of the ballpark today. The HBP that he has, he hangs in there and gets an HBP. That's another RBI. That's big. That's really advanced for a freshman. Usually the freshmen go into the mode of average fly ball or weak ground ball, and he's hitting balls hard almost every time he steps up there, which is a real testament to how hard he's worked. The other thing that's a real advantage for him is he just never sees that breaking ball breaking away from him, because he's a switch guy, and he's turned into a very, very good defender. But learning to play in this atmosphere, it's trial by fire in some situations, and there's no question he's going to be a great player here.
Where do you think the 1-2 duo of Hudson and Sexton kind of stack up in the country?
I don't know, because I don't get to see the country. I talk to a lot of scouts, and those 2 guys are just competing their tails off for us. What's really special to me, and we put a lot of stock in this, just to see their body language and see the look on their face, the way they approach this week and coming in right before this ball game. I don't know if I've ever seen 2 more focused players in my entire career than Dakota Hudson and Austin Sexton. Those guys were ready to pitch, and I think it has something to do with the fact that this is a rivalry series, but also those guys didn't pitch as well as they wanted to in Oxford last year, and I think that's what great athletes do. When they're not successful, they find a way to come back, make adjustments, and become successful later on. That's what both those guys have done, and what those guys have done for us this weekend has allowed our bullpen to stay intact so that we can use our bullpen in full force on a Sunday, and we really need to, we have this opportunity again. We have the opportunity to sweep a team, and we need to take advantage of that opportunity, because they don't come around very often.
With that said, is tomorrow just a thing where you just kind of piece things together? Do you want to use a lot of guys out of the bullpen?
You don't want to. You'd absolutely love your starting guy to go out there and at least get you 2 or 3 times through the order. Don't know if that's going to happen. But what it always involves, it went this way at Vanderbilt, it went this way last week versus Georgia, you got to have a strike thrower on day 3. You got to stuff it in the strike zone. If you don't just shove it in the strike zone, your defense isn't engaged, and you get the umpire used to calling balls, and hitters become much better in advantage counts, and all the stuff that everybody knows about our game. So we need a premium strike thrower, and what we've had the last 3 ball games, we've had 3 ball games without a walk, and that in and of itself is the most impressive thing about our pitching staff right now. 3 ball games against 2 really good teams, and we haven't given away a walk yet.
Any idea who that first guy on the mound might be?
Yeah, we'll talk about that right now. We'll go back and watch the film of this. We'll analyze it, and we'll say who do we feel like the best matchup is, and that's issue 2, and issue 1 is going to be who's going to be the premium strike thrower, who's going to go in there and throw the ball in his own force.
What makes the difference for Austin when he goes from being good to being great like he was?
His changeup. I think there are times where you can know that his changeup is coming and still not put a good swing on it. I think there are times that our hitters know a changeup's coming and they swing and miss. I don't know if it's because they get geared up for it, but he has so much sink and there's so much arm speed there And then that 88-90 looks like it's 100 when you got that 78, 80 mile an hour changeup coming in with that much movement. So he's worked so hard in his career to be able to establish that pitch. Didn't really have as good a slider coming in. His slider's gotten better and better and better, and I think that's a great pitch for him also. And when you have those two pitches and you can go get 88, 90 and locate that on the inner half and the outer half, then you got something really special.
You mentioned Mangum. Is Rooker's absence in the lineup because of right-handed hitting or just the way Mangum's playing right
Well,
now?
we're just trying to create the best matchups we can to try and win the baseball game. And we have some really good players. I mean, excellent players. Jack Kruger didn't play today. Excellent player. He's going to get opportunities. We just didn't feel like it was the best matchup under these conditions. But, you know, at any point in time, all those guys deserve to play. Unfortunately, you know, the rules only allow me to play 9. If we could play 11, or 12 or 13, I'd love to do that. But, you know, it's a difficult decision because all those kids want to play. They're all competitive. They all want to win. But they all have a great attitude about it. And that's something you need to have a great ball club.
Was there any question that Sexton was going to come back out there for the 9th?
Yeah, you know, we put a lot of stock in sitting down with him and saying, hey, how much do you have left in the tank? Then we talked to the catcher. What do you think? How much does he have left in the tank? Yeah, there was no doubt. He had a lot left in the tank. He wanted to finish that game. And, you know, again, the focus he had, the amount of work he's put into all of his starts, not just this one. He's in a great physical condition. And, you know, going into his freshman year, I just felt like he wasn't in great condition. He was coming off knee surgery, and we just couldn't get at those legs. You know, this is a guy who's gained almost 30 pounds since he's been here, and you look at him, he still looks like a rail. But I think his best pitching is in front of him. I think he's going to keep getting better as time goes on.
I know Ben asked about the country, but how about you in your career? Have you had 2 guys pitching as well as they are right now?
You know what, I would have to think about that. I've been fortunate. There have been some times, but yeah, I mean, it's special. These 2 guys are special. They feed off of each other, and they're great friends, and they compete. I tell you what's amazing is when Hudson's pitching, right next to me, keeping the chart, is Sexton, and he's cheering like, I mean, he's screaming, and he's keeping his chart, and he's looking, you know, he's preparing for his time. And then Hudson's keeping his chart, and he's screaming, you know. Those 2 guys are really competing for each other, even when they're not pitching, and it's fun to see. Those kind of relationships last forever. You know, Pete Young was out here earlier, and I tell you what, it's 27 years removed, or whatever it is, 26 years removed, but it was like I saw him yesterday. It's like we were in uniforms on this field yesterday, and you never lose that bond. And those guys in that dugout will never lose this bond. They'll remember these things, and you know, that's why you go to college. That's why you have these great experiences.